called meeting to order. Do roll call. Do you want to do roll call today? Sure, we can do roll call. Chair McNulty is here. Vice Chair Reisner.
Here.
And Dunno. Paul Mood. Jeff Bowman.
Yes.
Jess McNeely.
Here.
Chris Garcia. Jeremy DeGator.
Oh, just to let you know, I'm here on behalf of Ruth Garcia today.
Thank you, Jason. And I see that we also have Charlie Wilson.
Yep. Here.
And MetroPlan staff, Executive Director Morley. Here. Planning Manager Wessel.
Here.
Business Managers. Transportation Planner Gonzalez. Here. Transportation Demand Manager Austin. Here. And our Montoya Fellow, Melody. Here. Okay. We have a quorum. And that again. The thing. Way too much. I'm so sorry. I have way too much open. All right. Are you good? That's gonna like connect. Yes. Okay. Public comment. I don't see anybody from the public. Nope, we don't have anyone from the public, and I don't see anyone who is joined other than our members. Move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the technical advisory committee regular meeting minutes of May 21st? Somebody said by. Everybody say.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Okay, we'll move into general business. First item, consideration and possible actions regarding the fiscal year 2026 Greater Arizona funding initiatives for rural transportation. Eight. Thank you all.
All right, we're gonna figure this tech out. There is a email to IT to see if they can turn. So the reason we're having a special meeting today is to continue this conversation about the TAC bill, which is the Greater Arizona Funding Initiative. Turn it off. Jason, can you still hear online?
Yes, I can still hear you.
So last time we had a discussion about selecting projects.
He's been able to come to a conclusion at this time, and so this is a continuation of that conversation. We would like to get to a resolution today to make a recommendation to the board. That keeps us on target to submit our request to our TAC for inclusion before the October summit that they hold, where they like to present. So, next slide. A little bit about it. So RTAC is the Rural Transportation Advocacy Council. It represents 11 COGs and MPOs in the state of Arizona. And basically it's all of Arizona except for PAG. And Bullhead City is a new MPO within the state based on last census. The RTAC bill is a joint effort that collectively we come together to identify $480 million worth of projects to present to the legislature for one-time appropriations. The way this really works though is that bill never makes the finish line. It gets divided project by project into single appropriations that end up in the budget. But the bill is a way that we can collectively talk about the need for transportation funding across the state. And it's really that education tool for anyone to be selected and included in the budget. not only does our TAC have to be down there advocating, but the jurisdiction that has the project needs to be down there talking to the members of the legislature on a regular basis about including that project in the bill. So it is a large effort. It's not just to put it in the bill and hope that it gets across. If you really want your project funded, there's got to be a lot of follow-up that goes along with it. I want to set that stage just to set a foundation for these are high-level asks, and our main goal here is education. We would love to get them funded, but getting them funded is actually a really large lift. So we can expect that if we pick 4 or 5 projects, they're all going to get funded. One project, likely in the range of about $2 million, is probably the reasonable ask. Next slide. So what makes a good project to talk to the legislature about what they might want to fund? They like to see local skin in the game. So are you asking the state to pay 100% of something, or is there a partnership you can bring to the table? Because these are annual budget appropriations, there is a timeliness component. They want to see things that are pretty shovel ready, where you're ready, you're going to be ready to spend that money. They really prefer projects on the state highway system, and that's because they see that as their responsibility. And they see when you talk to them and you talk about local roadways, they're like, that's great. Sounds like a good project. Sounds like your problem. Right. So having that nexus to a statewide impact is really key. And it doesn't mean it has to be on the state highway system, but we want to be able to make an argument about a statewide impact or need to members of the legislature. The last one is the size of the request. And this is a new one I've added in here, and it's lessons learned out of this last state budget cycle, where we really saw a lot of $2 million projects awarded and under. And part of it is that the legislature essentially gave out earmarks to them. It said, we've got X amount of money available for appropriations for any topic, not just transportation. And that means everyone in the Senate gets $2 million to spend, and everyone in the and it's not quite that simple. They go by party lines and other things. The House gets a different amount, but we've seen this trend the last couple of years where instead of coming together and identifying big projects collaboratively, they get to the end of the budget cycle, they need quick solutions, and so they just say, everybody gets $2 million, pick your project. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen next year. But unless you have a legislature that's really going to work together to get big projects funded, that's probably where we're going to end up in the next couple of years. Next slide. You can need many options if you've read your staff report in advance. And partly this is because I don't have a clear recommendation. For us at MetroPlan, the main goal here and the reality is that this is an education tool for us to go talk about larger gas tax revenue issues. You know, the Smart Fund is part of our legislative platform, and we'll go down there and we will talk about our TAC bills and projects and importance of those, but our member jurisdictions have to be doing the same thing and have to really be doing it harder, because that's one of the first questions we get asked is like, where's Coconino County? Where's the city of Flagstaff? It's their project. So they have to be down there. So feel free to select what makes sense to you. The first option here is putting $2 million for US 180. This is what we originally said back in November, back in February. We said that US 180 was our #1 state highway project in the region. So we could, and knowing that earmarks are about $2 million, we could say we just want to hedge our bets on getting something funded. We're going to throw $2 million at US 180, and then we're going to try for these other things. We're just going to split them up amongst the partners. They can get back to me before the September board meeting and tell me how they want to spend their $8 million. We can refine that method if you want to go, but that's pretty close. Just leave it to the jurisdictions to get a little bit more time to do that and throw US 180. Next slide. The second option is looking at state highway corridor improvements. So we could really back into these numbers from the West 66 plan, where the full build out package that's being proposed by the TAC is about $18 million short of available funding. So we could say to them, we want $18 million for West 66. It's a state highway project. The drawback is that it's a large cost. And then throw the rest of it at US 180 and other state. Then so I'm working on those four. Next slide. Option C is continue with last year's asks. We did not get any of our funded last year, so we could move them forward again. We could continue with the Burris Roundabout, which was the county's request. Mountain Line had matched for buses and bus stops, and then basically take the rest of the money available and put it in the Lone Tree Bridge project. We're lucky to be very broad. Next slide. This was an option that I was asked to present from Supervisor Vasquez. And he just wanted the tax weigh in on it. So seek 18 million for US 89 in lieu of the Protect grant that was received. And this is related to delays in federal funding coming out and the county's priority to want to see that project completed. And so it's a strategy to kind of double up in case that Protect funding really gets caught up, that they can pursue this state funding alternative. You'll notice that does not equal the 26 million. So there's other pots of money available within that. I would probably suggest we just go back to the partners, divide the rest if we were to pursue this. Next slide. And then the last option is maybe you guys have other brilliant ideas for how to split the 26 million, and I'm open to those as well. So really, I know I haven't given you a particular recommendation. I think if I was being very pragmatic, I'd probably go back towards that option. $2 million for US 180 might be an ask that we could get across the finish line and then still continue to ask for the other things. But I really don't feel strongly about that.
Got a question.
Yeah.
What's the delays of the Protect grant? And is that money really going away or are they?
We have not actually seen any money going away, but I think there's been a lot of sadness, and I think frankly that's probably just staffing shortages in executing awards. I think Supervisor Vasquez is worried about the timeliness of this particular project. We're also seeing new grant clauses inserted into some of the federal awards that may or may not be politically viable to execute. So I think those are the concerns that are.
Said what the timing was, but what is the timing set by September? You want recommend a solid recommendation by September for your board meeting?
The board meeting is September 5th, so packets probably need to go out that last week of August. We would really want to, if we want to, kick the can or give it to management committee or just let the board make a decision without a formal TAC recommendation, and you all talk to your board members, that is an option. And we would want that by then.
And then the next timing points for this.
So then once we decide on them, it really goes that we submit them to our TAC council, and then they start to lobby for them and put them into a package. There's printed materials that go with it, so that's what's kind of driving their deadline for when we have. I think their deadline for us is early October. This is the September meeting is the last board meeting.
And they lobby October, November. How long does that go?
All the way till the budget's adopted, so they were
Just happened.
yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to check.
Yeah.
I'm sure I understood it was
So we are talking about money that would not be available for a year.
till July 26th.
Yes. And then probably executing an agreement.
Chair.
Yes.
So to underscore some of the process that Kate laid out, the city of Flagstaff did have some money appropriated or near appropriated by Senator Rogers for a signal.
I don't think that would be considered a city. But I'll go with
But
that.
an appropriation to the city, well,
It's 2-8.
to ADOT for a project
It's in the city. It's
right? And I don't know that anybody was down there advocating for that particular project. So,
yeah.
And so, yeah, these things can happen and there are opportunities and education is, advocacy is important.
That's what I was thinking. I was trying to tie it all together to make sure that I understood that this was a year away. And that what we had just heard about that was the same, roughly the same thing. Okay, perfect. And it was 1.9. That was it for the region. Sorry. That was it for the region. So it wasn't even one of them. Let's just be a launcher question.
And that's where, and this is really such a political process. I think we can worry about selecting the perfect projects, but frankly, I don't think we should worry about selecting the perfect projects because it's all political in the end. We'll do our best. I think we should have our expectations low. We also don't know, I think the conversation that ended up happening in the legislature at the end of the year was just really tightening down fiscally because they don't know what's happening with other federal funding. And so we saw, they said they had a lot of surplus and in the end, they really contracted that. Our lobbyists suggest the same thing's going to happen next year because we're still not going to have a fence where all the federal funding is, where the gaps the state needs to close are. So she really was like, I think next year's expectations for surplus funding that can go into one time.
These options, I really like option B, US 180, Route 66. There's reasons why both of those projects have been vetted through studies that have been conducted that, well, I think every agency within the area has participated in. And then they're both on state routes, so it's a state project. And they kind of show the bigger need of projects in the area rather than trying to split things evenly and fairly, addressing some of the bigger issues that we have.
On there as well, I kind of question whether asking for 2 million or asking for the actual project amount, which even matters with the messaging, but yeah, I kind of liked how that was 2 million, which matches your target.
And we could always go and say, we need 18 million. We'll accept any permit thereof.
But there's a bunch of little tiny projects in there that can be.
In that same vein of thinking, I like that one, but I also like option C because they were great ask. And so the Lone Tree Burrs Roundabout Mountain Line, are those, I think those have all had their studies and design. And those are also kind of situated, but where they lack because maybe they're more localized because they're not the DOT, they're not the bigger issues.
They're not like,
They're more localized. They're not.
gotcha.
They're not the upgrades. See that that could. They were. It felt like we could finish something that we've started, so I like that idea.
And for me, number C, we're looking pretty good at hopefully getting first lane roundabout with the HSIP project.
Okay.
So we'll know in October whether or not that will move forward to final design.
Is it in scoping?
So again,
Is it doing the scoping step? Oh, that's good.
And B and C, maybe Tammy, if you could maybe flip back to this. And then it sounds like we may be able to take a vote or get to a recommendation of the TAC for the board. Okay, so C, as a reminder, last year's ads. And B was those corridor improvements. We can adjust those numbers accordingly.
And how are we on funding with Lone Tree?
From last year, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember how we got it. It was a very exact number. I don't know.
It was the leftover amount we're allocated out of the RTAC bill, so we get 26 million, 100. We took the other projects, subtracted them.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge corridor with prices going up. We haven't done any planning work on the south section, but we're short. So we've just, every opportunity, we've said, yeah, we can take some money. Gotcha.
I mean, an alternative, if you wanted to try to support Lone Tree and still pursue something like this, you could put all the money into West 66, and that might create capacity for the city to move money from West 66 back to Lone Tree. That could be an alternative where you can still try to support the Lone Tree project.
I do like that with 66 has little projects that are broken out, so knowing that this money could be in here, it could be part of, I like that.
There's so is anybody ready to make a motion or?
Do we want to vote on which ones we like the best? Like to, then see which one is the most popular, then make a motion for that one.
If all the raise exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exercise.
Okay, all those in favor of option A, raise your hand. Zero, hands raised. Option B. So 5 hands. I think that's all of us.
So maybe, I don't know, Jason,
Oh, I will be abstaining from the vote. Thank you.
In favor, one abstained, and do we even need to go through the other options? Do we want to, I guess just make there, would there be a backup recommendation in case the executive board didn't agree?
But
or-
if they can change their mind if they want to, but this is a recommendation from TAC.
I like it.
Yeah.
So then, can I get a recommendation? Yes, so the TAC.
I would motion to recommend to the board option B court.
Thank you. I get a motion to recommend to the executive board option B for the RTAC.
Make a motion to recommend option B to the executive board.
Second,
Second.
any discussion we had?
All those in favor?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Any other in favors?
Aye.
Any? This new room is making it giddy. Any opposed? Okay, that passed.
Thank you. Room's still hot, yes.
That's exactly what it is. All right, item number 2, Safe Streets Master Plan update, Mr. Wetzel.
thank you, Madam Chair. A brief update, no action today, planning. We completed our internal scoping. There's a couple key endorsements we're looking at. I'll go ahead and name names. And my team, today, will get their signed off. Beginning next. We're gonna have 6 proposals. But I know it's in that. Yeah. About it. Next. Line. Yeah. Advise that. Certainly, especially these office ones location. Process, is there again, the very, very valuable. For that. And then, so we don't. I think we should have a meeting scheduled and the exact dates, shortly after that. About the we said we page interviews. And there's three firms, so. We're not necessarily limited to that. Three of the signing one. So we're the eight schools for interviews. The August and then negotiations in September with an award by MetroPlan executive. Yes. That's my opinion. But then, matrix and proposals out to you probably later today for those of you.
Thank you. Item number 3, MetroPlan in-kind policy and procedures. Kate.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the This is, unfortunate because we have more income needs than we've ever had, because we have more grants than we've ever had. We just wanted to do government grants. So MetroPlan, all of our funds of MetroPlan require either 5.7 or 20% match. We can do that with cash or in kind. There's some definitions on there. But MetroPlan collects $30,000 per year in cash. We can use for anything that's non-eligible grant expense or to use to match a grant. So it's not very much cash that we have. It's going to be heavily relying on income, which is the time that our partners all spend on projects. It can also be other things. You see that there can be in-kind donations. For example, we pay no rent to Mountain Line, and we're able to use the cost of rent as income. It's a great relationship there. But people tracking their time for us is the number one thing we're doing to collect in-kind. This is not our in-kind policy. We actually have a policy that's adopted by the board, and we're going to highlight the part at the bottom. The time you collect as in-kind doesn't have to directly benefit the MPO. It has to benefit the planning area. So that broadens our ability to collect in-kind to directly be MetroPlan area planning.
MetroPlan adjacent.
Is that like the regional plan and its connection to transportation?
Yeah, I would say those components are benefiting the region, the area, and so we could be tracking related. The trick is you can't already be federally funded. If you as a staff person need to be locally funded. Next one. This is our budgets, our revenue side, and the highlighted column there is, well, that section is about match, and the highlighted column is particularly what we've budgeted for in-kind match. You will see there's some other cash match in here that from 305 grant. Because it's $118,000 worth of income, is what we need to collect this year. We anticipate needing to collect this year. In 2025, it was 105,000, which is slowly seen a tick up as we've gotten. Which is great. Next slide. So we're looking at strategies to increase the amount of in-kind that we are bringing in. And we've done some things that have made bringing in-kind more efficient for us. The DocuSign, Adobe PDFs that you have been getting are increasing our return rate because people just have to click the button. If you were around before, you never told them this nice little sheet that you had to PDF and sign on manager sign. It's a little bit more complex. So our rate of return is higher. But in transitioning to the PDF process, looking at your calendar, saying, here are the meetings I have with this person, and we're not collecting all the other things that we could be collecting for in-kind and doing that. So we've reduced some of the time that we're allocating for everybody, but we're getting higher return rates. So we're looking for a balance. I think an editable PDF. I'll share a slide on the next sample of it on the next slide. Because editable PDF, what we're on, we usually also enter things into the PDF if we have missed. We're going to make some additional assumptions that we need you to that for us, and you can give us feedback today. I think they're right here in the middle here. So we're going to essentially our meeting time. We're going to spend some minutes. So we have this email exchange back and forth about a meeting topic. We're going to say, we're going to estimate you spent 5 minutes. If you think you spent more or less, you should edit that, but we'll make an assumption for you to kind of clear your process there. And then do 30 minutes of prep for a tags or meetings. So assuming that you've got some prep work or you're talking to staff or having a meeting associated, there's an additional conversation. If you get that PDF, you really think it's wrong, we would ask that you change it. And then whenever we guys do like a deeper document review, like all the documents on West 66, those kinds of things that we would assume it out. Those forward. We're open to ideas about how to better collect values. The next slide, show you the sample. This is the sample for the PDF will look like it looks very much like those old documents here. So the equity did the volume for screening, so it's finding there's a video for the lines. If you wanted to have the lines, it's just thing that exists. Their ideas about better.
I think the edible video is awesome. Thank you for that. Question for you. If we have staff, like the Belmont traffic interchange study, that would probably be something that we could do in kind time for. That's benefiting the MetroPlan area planning.
Yeah.
So staff is also reviewing that. How would you like us to capture that time in the report?
If you want to see who's working on the projects, you can start sending out the email every so that, and we call this a blank version or in some time.
Okay.
It's not going to be the easiest unless they have some approximate assumptions that want us to start with a tiny zero for that.
Do, like, commissions, I'm thinking specifically about like feedback and stuff, and I know myself and my staff have been doing a lot of different presentations on a lot of different things that are adjacent to multimodal planning. Could those all by?
Well, suggestions for the please let us know. Kudos to you, so there's the other time to understanding of the figure out.
Thank you. Right, we want the happenings.
Good, we're ahead of schedule, so we have people towards. Next slide. I called it's going on. There is a section for the state transportation work. I don't believe it's in your calendars. We're just getting our RSVPs in. I do believe we have more declines and minutes. So if any of you would like to join us, you would be welcome to. Oh, no, I'm 50, that's being very. That would be me. Apologies. No, that's okay. If you would like to join a tentative group, you can be a leadership or, facilitate recreation for their topic. Connection with, your central district, and it's one of the favorite conservation plans for West 66, really presenting. We saw that some work that college is more expensive, but I understand it's expensive. As a little on training, it's not very expensive. It's kind of see. To complete the creative global match plan, this was it's going to be fast and like the next couple weeks. Community applications, the difference rates the same. Plan outline for our CRS. Some of the last year that's been on citizens. Interviews with principals, surveys of parents, so we're going to get that information and going to school by school in these days. Some schools have not developed speeding this weekend. As well. Yes. I'm sort of so yeah, also because there's some PMs. Thanks very much.
It's good. Okay. Any items from the TAC?
I've got a couple. A couple weeks ago, I went to Sacramento and did a peer exchange with Federal Highway Administration and 6 other states on how to reduce fatalities on highways. Some very good things came out of that. One thing that Glenn from Federal Highway Administration is going to be doing, he's going to be putting together fatality reduction kind of class up here. Mine's not in October. It looks like it's going to be probably the week of the 20th or 21st. It's going to be the week after fall break. So there'll be more on that. Another interesting thing is a lot of states and areas are looking at pushing after crash care and how does that look like. And one big thing that we talked about was blood transfusions in the field. And of the 6 states, only 7 counties of the 6 states do blood transfusions in the field on ambulance. A lot of areas do air transfusions. So one thing that we talked about is in our meetings on reductions and safe streets master plans, starting to invite EMS personnel, fire department personnel, things of that nature. See if there's any way that we can help them get the, if it's short on funding or infrastructure that they need to be able to do that blood transfusion in the field. There's something like 85% of people that were treated in the field with blood transfusion lived in a serious crash. So that was pretty huge. Yeah, it's pretty huge. Another thing we talked about was messaging people on crashes and things of that nature and kind of like what you guys are trying to do in MetroPlan and how to use, crossing equipment safely and be aware of your surroundings and stuff like that. And how we need to start looking at not so much the commercial and advertising of the passport, because a lot of people, we even went out and talked to people of when you're scrolling through your phone and you see an advertisement on safe driving or something like that, what's the first thing that you do? Do they say swipe and watch it? So how can we get people to actually listen to these advertisements? One thing they came up with was actually paying influencers within a community to work it into their stuff every once in a while. See if there's a payback in that to where it's not a boring advertisement. It's somebody that people are already watching or listening to that just happen to mention something, a message that they can work into their whatever they do.
In Rock's placement.
Yeah,
Encouraged when we were first rolling out the Divergent Diamond roundabout. They were actually playing it, and I know people don't go to movies anymore that often, but they were actually playing it as part of the beginning movies. And then I was just thinking like the Orpheum ones, what it would be is maybe talking to them, because like more people like Orpheum movies.
Yeah.
The mapping.
right.
About that.
And then having statistics that impact people here, like on I-17 last year, this is how many people passed away and how many of those fatalities were speed related, that sort of thing. I'm trying to improve driver behavior. Just make it more personal.
Kept frantically taking notes.
No. So this is a great peer exchange. Learned a lot. A lot of state agencies are pushing both counties to do local road safety plans in order to kind of have a good plan and implementing safety projects through HSIP or SS4A. So I was happy to see that that's kind of what we're trying to do right now with our grant that we're getting ready to do a kickoff meeting on. And that kind of is a good transition into our grant merger. We should be issuing a purchase order this week on it and should be having a kickoff meeting here pretty soon. So once we have that, we'll let everybody know when that's going to be and try to invite everybody for the same order.
So you have an award,
Yeah, green light.
green light.
Yep.
Anything else, Raymond? Yeah, adjourn at 2:15.
Thank you, Jason.
Oh, our next.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Also, really hot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.